Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the House Podcast. Yes. Unfortunately, this episode has to happen, and unfortunately, we have to talk about some of the things that we have to talk about. You all know why. You all know the results. I wish we could be doing this episode in a lighter, more fun, happier manner, but it is what it is. As a Blues fan, you've experienced this many times. As a Queensland fan, you must be incredibly joyful, and you also have experienced this many times. So we'll dive into it. We'll break it down, Origin 3 and the whole series. We'll give it a good wrap up. We'll talk about some potential changes and moves for the 2026 series. But man, is it hard. It is a tough one. But like I said, we've been through this before. We've all built coping mechanisms to help us get through this time of the year as Blues fans. Hasn't happened as many times in the last decade as it did the decade previous. But we've been through this before. We'll get through it this time, don't worry. Revenge will be sweet in 2026. But let's get into it. Queensland win the third and final game, 24-12. And Queensland just doing what Queensland do. Win when it matters most. When everything is on the line, when the chips are stacked against them, they pull this shit out of their arse and they come up with the W. Now, preceding this game, you could say, well, there's a lot riding on this for Queensland. Not only were they counted out before the series even began, counted out again after game one. But before this game, the tragic passing of Cameron Munster's father just a couple of days before game 3, it added that extra level of emotion, that extra level of spirit within the Queensland camp. Coaches, players, fans, really. It made this game mean so much more to them. And in true storytelling fashion, they win. They win the series. Cameron Munster captains and wins his first series as captain. Has a pretty good game himself. And, as movies go, that's about as good as it gets for Queensland. As movies go, that's a good one. It's unfortunate for New South Wales. It's unfortunate as Blues fans. But what are you going to do, huh? Like I said, we've been through this before. We'll get through it. All right, game 3. Where did Queensland win and where did New South Wales lose? New South Wales started quite well, actually. A lot of offloads early, a lot of field position early, a lot of meters gained within the New South Wales sets in the first 10 minutes or so. New South Wales looked really, really good. Willing to explore options on attack, willing to move the ball around, willing to take chances to move up the field, and they did. They just didn't quite set themselves up to really attack in Queensland's 20. After that, though, Queensland weathered the storm, and then it was their turn to start marching down the field. And then they pretty much did that for the rest of the game. They were impeccable on attack. I think it took them until 10 minutes left, 15 minutes left for them to actually have an incomplete set. So in an Origin arena against some of the best players in the world in New South Wales, to complete set after set after set, to get to your kick after kick after kick, and they were good kicks. They put Queensland in a good position to defend the next set. To do that in an Origin arena is really incredible, really impressive, and that makes a lot of sense as to why they were able to hold New South Wales out for a long time. They were able to win the field position game, make very little errors, very few penalties, and just grind it out, get into a really good rhythm, and they were able to find the try line. They were able to put pressure on New South Wales, and they were able to really just have their way. After that initial 10-minute period of New South Wales really chancing their arm and coming up with the goods outside of scoring a try, after they weathered that, Queensland really just put on a clinic, essentially. Cameron Munster, Tom Deed, and Harry Grant had some good runs up in the middle. Hammer, he was pretty involved, and when he was involved, it was impressive. But as a Blues supporter, watching that game, it was frustrating. It was frustrating, but you just kind of expect it out of Queensland at this point. But one of their massive things and why they won the game, defensively, they were superior, and in particular on the edges. Robert Toya and Shibasaki had some early jitters, got stood up a couple of times in that early 10-minute period that we talked about. But after that, him and Toya, they stood up defensively. Latrell was covered pretty much all game. Crichton was covered pretty much all game. Edwards didn't really find anything in attack, whether it was on the edges or in the middle of the park, which is why I stand by why Tedesco should have been the fullback for the entire series. But that's a debate for a different day. But Crichton and Latrell more so than Crichton got plenty of ball. They shifted down to that left side quite a bit more often than the right. But they got ball. New South Wales continued to give them the ball. They just couldn't do much with it. Latrell felt the need to offload basically every single time a defender touched him. Sometimes it paid off well. Sometimes it didn't really give us an extra advantage. But defensively, Queensland stood up to the task. They did what they had to do. They covered their man almost every single time. And we just didn't really have a lot of answers in attack. We ended up putting 2 tries on the board, one through Toto, one through Crichton. But obviously, at the end of the day, wasn't enough. Tom Dearden had an excellent game, player of the match, Wally Lewis medal of the series. He played quite well for a man who didn't play didn't play in the starting side in game 1. Shifted into the halfback role, one of the most important, if not the most important role in an Origin team, and delivered. The bloke absolutely delivered. Obviously, he's got Cameron Munster, the captain, one of Queensland's best players, right by his side, helping steer the troops around the park, helping take over the kicking game, particularly for the big kicks. But they played really well. Billy Slater, again, I've talked about Billy before. I have so much respect for him, and I think he's a great coach, and I think he's on track to become the Australian head coach in time. He's a really good coach, and time again, he makes these big calls with players being brought in or players getting dropped, and every time it pays off. Every time Billy Slater is right. He is an excellent coach, and it makes sense because for his entire career, he was coached by Craig Bellamy, Mal Meninga, bit of Tim Sheens. Great coaches. His coaching style will obviously take part of all of those coaches that he has had experience with in the past. He would have learned damn near everything from those elite coaches that he's been coached by. He's been in excellent teams, Melbourne Storm, Kangaroos, Queensland dominant teams. He's played alongside some great leaders, great captains, great players. He has digested all of this information and all of this experience, and now you're seeing the revelation of Billy Slater in the next chapter of his career in rugby league as a coach, and damn, it is impressive. And damn, he is being just as successful as he was as a player. I think this is his third series win as a coach out of 4 or 5. I'm not quite sure on the actual specifics. But man, is he a good coach. Man, does he get a lot out of his players. And he gets respect from his players, and rightfully so. He's one of the game's best ever players. In my opinion, he's the best fullback ever. And he played in some of the best teams ever. So it makes sense why Billy is doing what he is doing in his coaching career. And I like to see it. Although he's the Queensland coach, I've always loved Billy. He's always been one of my favourite players growing up. So although he's the Queensland coach, I enjoy seeing Billy have success. Let's talk about the other coach then. Laurie Daly. I don't remember whether I've talked about this or not on the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. After Laurie Daly was hired, after game 1 team selection, the interview that the coaches do the very next day, a journalist asked him a question. And the journalist said something along the lines of, you've been brought back in as the New South Wales head coach. You've been there before, you've had some success, but ultimately you failed. And what makes this time any different to last time? Why would you have success this time as opposed to last time? What changes have you made to become a better head coach this time around? And do you know what Laurie Daly's response to that question was? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. So you'd think in the, 7 or 8 years, 6 or 7, 8 years since being Blues head coach, he didn't think about his experience at all. He didn't think about where he went wrong. He didn't think about what he could have done better. He didn't think about his coaching style, his player relationships, his other coaches on the coaching staff. He didn't think about any of that. He didn't think about what he could have done better. He didn't look inside himself. I'm a fan of self-growth, self-development. You're telling me he answers that question with, I don't know. He doesn't know. This is baffling to me because he didn't look inside himself and go, what could I do as a coach, as a mentor to these players in the future to provide more success for these players, for this state, for this team? You're telling me that preparing for the interview to become the coach again, he didn't think about these things? Did the interviewers not ask him what makes you a better man for this job second time around? Did they not ask him that? Did he not have any answers for that then? So when someone asks him, what makes you the better man for this job second time around? What makes you think that you're going to have more success with this team, with these players, this time around as opposed to last time when you got the sack? And he goes, I don't know. You're telling me for 5+ years he hadn't thought about what he could have done different, what he would do again in the future if he had this opportunity to coach again? That there and then, when I heard that gave me a worrying feeling. Now that went away after game 1 because I was like, fuck yeah, the talent in this team, the player quality in this team will just overwrite that. Or let that sit in the back of the head. We're not gonna ripe on that. And I thought after game 1, all right, we're sweet. And then we lose game 2 and 3. And we lose game 3 in that fashion. I bring it up again. It comes back up into my mind. It's kind of a turning point as to why I don't think Laurie Daly's second time around is going to be a better coach than he was last time. He might win 1 series. He might win 2, keep his job alive. But his answer to that question, I don't know what makes me a better man for this job, a better coach this time around. That worried me, and that will continue to be in my mind every time he's going to be the coach for a series. Now, I don't think they're going to make any drastic changes like that for next year, but if he goes 0-2 in 2 years, I don't see him getting a third year at the job, considering this is his second time around, considering he has probably the pick of the talent outside of a few for Queensland. It is worrying to me when I hear someone give that answer. But obviously we can look back on it now, and New South Wales losing the series, confirmation bias for me saying, oh, that's worrying, that's concerning, that's why they lost, that's why he's not the man for the job, so on and so on. But if they had won this series, that may not have been a big issue looking back on it. I might not have remembered that after this series had New South Wales won. But they didn't, so I look back on it, so it concerns me, so it will concern me next year too, should he be the head coach. What changes do these teams need to do for 2026 when we get to the end of May next year? Queensland, obviously, let's preface it with this. Obviously, a lot can happen within 11 months. Injuries, retirement, people coming in and out of form. Are the eligibility rules going to change between now and then? That's something that we have to keep an eye out on too. That discussion is still there, and we'll pick up again towards the end of the year with international football. But if we just take a stab at it, we just speculate to the highest level. In a year's time, what changes need to be made? Queensland, obviously, they probably will make very little. Papali'i, he might be done with Origin footy, so he may not be there. Players coming in and out of form, who knows? Injuries, Kalen Ponga's injured. Reece Walsh is coming back from an injury. It's probably going to be like it was this year. Who's not injured and who's in best form for that fullback role? I imagine Tom Dearden, Cameron Munster will stay there. Harry Grant will stay there. Outside of that, it's just going to be who's in form. In the centres, who's in form, who's available. Wingers, same deal. Forward pack, same deal. I imagine Pat Carrigan will still be there. Lindsay Collins will still be there. Tino will probably still be there. Outside of that, who's in form? Who's been there before? So on and so on. New South Wales, though, probably a bit more to think about. Probably a bit more cause for change. Cleary, obviously, although he hasn't dominated that arena, and I saw something today saying where he feel like he let himself down because he understands that he also hasn't dominated the Origin arena. But he's just too good. He's the best halfback in the league. He's going to be there should he be fit and healthy next year. I imagine Moses would be there should he be fit and healthy next year. That seems to be a working combination as we saw in game 1. Forward pack. That is probably where New South Wales will be hoping more players are pushing for selection next year. Obviously, you got like the Jake Trbojevic. It's probably, unless he's in absolute rare form, he's probably not getting back into that arena. Isaiah Yeo, he's getting older. He'll still be there should he want to be next year because he's got so much experience, because he's captain, because he is just a really good player, and I've grown to respect him a lot more from what I've seen from him this year. But he is getting older. Spencer Lenu, should he be really good, in form, fit, he should be there whether he comes off the bench or not. Atui Kamanu, Max King. Again, that's going to be on form. If they're out of form, they're probably not getting picked. Crichton Martin, they'll be there if they're healthy. Robson, he'll keep his spot unless there's someone like Appy that's just absolutely outplaying him next year. Terrell May needs to stay in form. I think if he does what he's doing this year, maybe even better, staying out of trouble, I think he will be there. Centers, obviously going to keep that. To'o, you're going to keep that. Lomax, you're going to keep that. Edwards, unfortunately, you're going to keep that. The forward pack for New South Wales is really where, and particularly props, bench props and starting props is where you're going to be hoping that there's a number of big fellas really in great form and really pushing for selection. Hopefully Mitch Barnett's back too, and he can, he'd probably just be back for Origin 1 selection, maybe. So he'd need to be, he should be back. ACL, it's about 9 to 12 months. So if not game 1, he'd probably be there or thereabouts for game 2 and 3. Payne Haas, obviously, he's not going nowhere. So it's going to be prop forwards is probably where New South Wales you might see the most changes outside of any other positions with injury. But you just hope people are pushing and pushing and pushing. I've loved to see Ola Kawatu in the squad. I know he's had a little bit of game time, but I really rate him, and I think he can just cause so much damage offensively and defensively. So I'd love to see him in form, ready to go next year, and hopefully get selected again. But other than that, it's just a wait and see. It's just a wait and see for this time period to come around again. Props to Queensland, though. You just have to give them credit, because when shit's on the line, when their back's up against the wall, when people are doubting them, when people are throwing shit their way, they stand up to the occasion and they pull off a victory, and they do it time and time again. They don't have to be the most talented. They don't have to be the most well-connected team. They just need a strong leader, whether it's DCE, whether that's Cameron Munster. They need a strong leader. They need a good coach. My God, if they had good coaches. And they just spirit, will, and effort. I saw something today where New South Wales had won most of the statistics. Most of them, not all of them, but most of them. New South Wales still had won, offloads, penalties, I think run meters, total runs, all that type of stuff. New South Wales, tick, 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 tick. Queensland get the last tick, the final say with effort, spirit, absolute will to win. They do it in Sydney. They do it when it matters. They do it in the decider. Have to give credit to Queensland. Unfortunately for the Blues, but you have to give credit to Queensland. They win when it matters. They win when they need to win. And another plaque on the shield that says Queensland win the series. So credit to them. We'll see you again next year, and hopefully with a different result. That'll help my mental health, that's for sure. As I'm sure it is the case for many of you, whether you're a Blues fan. If you're a Queensland fan, then you're living life to the fullest. You're sweet for the next 11, 12 months. After that, though, we'll see. All right, that's Origin. Wrapped up, done and dusted for another year. Now we get into the final stretch of the NRL regular season before we get into finals. And then after finals, we got some international footy. So plenty of football to still go for this year and plenty of exciting football. Before we talk about the upcoming round, let's talk about the standout of the round last week. Now, I know it's Thursday. We're talking about games from last weekend, but Kyo Weeks, what a performance, man. This young man is so talented. He's now got a couple of years under his belt with experience and a couple of different clubs. And he's found himself at a club with a great coach, with Ricky Stewart, with a great culture that the Raiders have right now. Surrounded himself with other great players, Papali'i, Hudson Young, playing really well. Tom Starling's playing really well. There's a reason why they are at the top of the table. And he is a part of that reason, Kyo Weeks. An incredible game on the weekend. I think his stats were something like 340 run meters, 3 tries, 11 tackle breaks, something like that. That's crazy. That's crazy. He is you've got a couple of different tiers of fullbacks. You've got the Edwards, Tedesco, Ponga, Walsh, Pappenhausen, like top tier. Then you've got like the Guthersons and the Kennedys. Who else? Latrell probably. Who else can I think of on the spot? We'll just go with that. Go with those. Kind of like the veterans, the B-type fullbacks can have amazing games, but aren't probably pushing for representatives, at least at that position. Obviously, Latrell, great player, but when he represents higher stages, it's in the centres. And then you've got these young kids, the Kyo Weeks, the Isaiah Iongis. We'll put Hammer in that second tier too. But then the Isaiah Iongis, the Kyo Weeks, the Lehigh Hopperwadis now that he's playing fullback over Tommy. You got these young guns. Obviously, with these young fellas, this next tier, you can see the talent. It pops off the screen. The talent is there. The speed is there. The skills are there. They're showing that they're not just run meter blokes like a Dylan Edwards. They're not just super skillful like a Pappenhausen or a Latrell. They're not just speedy like a Paps or a Billy. Billy was kind of well-rounded, but Billy was known for his speed. These young kids, they're well-rounded. They're kind of like, maybe this is a little bit too far, maybe, but we'll say it. They're kind of like the next evolution of a fullback. Just well-rounded. They're obviously quick. They're obviously talented. They've got ball skills. They've got footwork skills. They can make 200 meters a game easy. You see Kyo Weeks, he makes 300 meters easy. Chance, not quite as young, but another one who's kind of well-rounded, run meters, speed, skillful in attack. But Chance just doesn't quite have the youth of these other players that I'm talking about. These players in the next year to 2 to 3, Jareem Buller, probably not quite as talented as the other 3 young blokes I mentioned, but Jareem Buller's got talent. He's got skills. Maybe he's not in the best system. Maybe he doesn't have the best players around him. Maybe his development might take a little bit longer. But the Kyos, the Isaiah Iongis, the Lehigh Hopperwadis, they're very exciting. And with good development, with a couple more years experience, these are going to be that next tier of fullbacks, and they're going to be terrorizing the rest of the NRL teams. They're going to be on fire because they've got talent everywhere on the park. They've got the speed. They've got the hand skills. They've got the ball skills. They've got footwork and agility. As they develop their bodies physically, as they develop more of a game management, game awareness, game experience, they develop the intelligence of the game, get higher footy IQ, become smarter on the park, they're going to be beasts. They're going to be beasts. You're already seeing these three in particular just have outstanding matches against quality opposition in the next year, 2, 3 years. They're going to run the league. They're going to run the league, and I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. As a fullback, as a man who's gravitated towards fullbacks becoming my favourite players, the Kalen Pongas, the Roger Tuivasas, Billy Slater, I love to see this. I absolutely love it. I can't wait for them to further develop and further shine on the TV screen and in person and just completely take over the league. So that's what I'm excited for. So shout out to Kyle Weeks for an absolutely incredible game. Bloke is a big reason for the Raiders' success this season. And is there anybody who doesn't like the Raiders? It's kind of one of those teams, like the Sharks. Like, maybe they don't have the biggest fan base. They're not the biggest club with the most money in the biggest area. But does anyone not like them? Like, I've never heard anyone say they don't like the Raiders or don't like the Sharks. You hear everyone, fuck the Broncos, fuck Manly, fuck the Rabbitohs, fuck Tigers, Grubs and all this and that and that. Oh, who cares about the Bulldogs? Get them out of here. And now Penrith, they win too much. Pink jerseys. But I'd never hear anyone disliking the Raiders or the Sharks. So I think if the Raiders were to be there or thereabouts towards the end of the season, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with it, especially if they're playing this type of quality football. You win. If you win, that takes care of everything else. That takes care of anything else. You win, people like you, especially your fans. All right, that's going to be it. Another episode in the books. Until next week, enjoy the games of football this week. If you're a Queensland fan, enjoy the celebrations. I'm sure you're going to keep them going. If you're a Blues fan, sit with it, experience it, embrace the pain. It'll only serve you better for next year when we get the revenge on those cockroaches. All right. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you next week.